This is Gayle. Welcome to my channel tonight. I see we've already been joined by a couple of people. Let me scoot this screen around so I can see you better. All right. And we have been joined by Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man the Hero, and Women's Station Channel. So hi, Lori. Hi, Peter. I hope you're doing well. Hang on just a second here. This is awesome. Let me hand this back to you. Okay. Thank you. Got my husband helping me here, handing me some things. Thank you, honey. You're welcome. So Peter Parker says he is in pain. I don't like seeing that. Got bad news. Going to have to wait for the MRI scan to be done on 9/30/2022. Doctors say it could be cancer. They want to run some more tests on him. It doesn't look good. Might not be on tonight. I'm in a lot of pain. Okay, so he left that earlier. All right. Well, I hate that. Y'all continue keeping him in your prayers. Women's Station Channel is here, like I said. So hello, Lori. Busy Lady is in the house. Hi, Busy Lady. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here. And Norfolk and Western Railroad Man is here. So hi, Norfolk and Western. How are you? Goes by the nickname. Can I say your nickname? I'll let you say it. Some people don't like nicknames out, and some do. So anyhow, I hope you guys are doing great this week. Now, you might notice that my surroundings look oddly familiar. They look a lot like they do at home. Exactly like they do at home. That's because I was not able to travel this week. I had planned on, okay, Norfolk and Western says I can say his name. Awesome. His nickname, you all, is Casey Jones. How cool is that? It goes with his channel vibe and everything. I just think that's really cool. Great nickname. So you all notice that I do not look like I have gone anywhere, and that's because I haven't. Unfortunately, earlier this week, I guess Monday, we got word that my husband had been exposed to COVID. And of course, me being with him means I was probably exposed or would be exposed, just secondary to him running around, which is how I got it last time. But so far, knock on wood, no tests have come back positive. Everything's been negative. We feel great. Life is good. So nothing like that going on. But with the grandbaby being fragile and being a NICU baby, we talked to her mom about it. We talked to each other. And so we decided that I better go ahead and stay home for the 10 days. She's actually in charge of a health council, so she knows all of the most up-to-date stuff that they're recommending for COVID. So when she said I needed to stay home for 10 days, we're taking that seriously. You know, she's like, I can mask up and go anywhere else that I want to, just don't come to her house. So we're waiting until we are out of that 10-day period, which will be late this week. So I really don't know where I'm going to be Saturday night, but I will try to be on here somehow, some way. That's the plan. So that being said, I really haven't had time to put together much to talk to you all about. So I'm going back to an older blog post that I had scheduled just for a situation like this, just in case. So it went live today, and that's talking about some women explorers. But you guys can toss in your own ideas and suggestions about women who've explored or made a difference with travel, or who've just inspired you to travel. We don't have to stick with women, although that is what the blog topic is on. So let me go here and get into the chat for a minute. We have, okay, he said it was okay to say his nickname, which was Casey Jones. I got that. People are saying hi to each other, which is great. Busy Lady says she's looking for banana bread recipe if you all have one, as basic as possible. LOL, this is my first time making it. You want the Bisquick banana bread recipe. It tastes good and it's super easy. So it's like you cannot mess it up. Really, it's great. That's why I always make it home. It's really good. So check that out if you've got Bisquick on hand. Yeah, thank you for being sorry to hear that. You know, it's so frustrating because it's like, I want to go see my daughter. I've got part of her nursery stuff that she kind of needs this, you know, like the changing table and some things. And I've got some gifts for her that some of you guys have sent in. I've got some love to share. I just, you know, but because first we had to back it up because of her having some COVID stuff going out there, and I'd had something came up that delayed me. Then I had some medical stuff come up. Then I get, you know, exposed to this. So eventually I will get out there. Also, yeah, Valerie says you can Google banana bread recipes. Yep, you can. But Bisquick is really easy. Yeah, Stella Piper might have her hands on it. We'll ask her when she comes in. And Valerie Reese is in. So hi, Valerie. Welcome. And let's see. Women's Station channel says, yeah, you're well. I am. So far, no problems. Thank God. Busy Lady says, yeah, I've just wondered if anyone had something good. Okay. Norfolk and Western Railroad Man says, I know about John Luther Jones and the Cannonball Express. Okay, so shoot him some questions. Very interesting character there with Casey Jones, aka John Luther Jones. He was the one that was the engineer at the railroad and passed away at this big scene. And I'm specifically not giving details, so you guys can either ask him or look it up. Busy says, thanks, Gayle. Okay. Stellar Piper is in the house. So hi, Stellar. I just mentioned you. I just in context with banana bread. I said maybe you've got a recipe because we usually do the Bisquick. Now I do play around with the Bisquick recipe sometimes. I will say that. Throw in some nuts, take out some nuts, throw in some applesauce with the banana, add some cinnamon. Don't add cinnamon. So, but the basic recipe is great. I just tweak it sometimes and not all the time. So, and everybody's saying hello again. So, super, super, super. Well, I hope y'all have had a good week. Actually, that's a lie. I hope y'all have had a great week. So, mine's been good other than that little dip in the road, shall we say. I did have a good report, though, about Bambina, about our baby. And that, well, it's a cutting kind of, yeah, I'll go ahead and stick with good. The doctors weren't talking about a time when she could go home, and she stayed in the hospital, and, you know, they were just going back and forth on she could go home around her due date. No, she couldn't. And now they were going to say that she could go home, but she had a bradycardia episode, which is where her heart rate drops. And now they're saying that, you know, it may be a few more days, whereas they weren't talking about it before, and now they are. There's just been a little delay. So hopefully the baby will get to come home from the hospital, knock on wood. Cross your fingers, definitely say a prayer because that's why she's still here. So, you know, kind of a good report, shaky report, shall we say, but good. All right, let's see. Going back in here. Busy says, ooh, I love cinnamon. Okay. Then recipes are to be played around with. Valerie says she's got a peanut butter banana bread recipe. Ooh, now I haven't thought about that. And Women's Station channel is pointing out you can make your own homemade Bisquick too. That's cool. And Busy's going to be in and out. She's working on her bedroom, but listening. Thank you for listening. And thank you very much, Women's Station channel, for praying. That's why she's still here. So, okay, I've been doing some thinking and going over about the live stream and thinking, like, what can we do for this week? Because I really didn't have much prepared because I had planned on not being here. So, after some thought, I've decided that over in the Facebook group, okay, if you comment, make a relevant comment in the Facebook group about this live stream, and somebody who has inspired you to travel, Doesn't have to be a girl. It's just that the blog is Bodacious Broads. It's linked down below. If you go to the Facebook group, if somebody can type that in, that'd be great. If not, I'll get it in a minute. But if you go there and leave a relevant comment on this post referencing the live stream, I'm going to put you in a drawing. And guess what you're going to win? 50 cents. Isn't that exciting? Yes, I did say 50 cents, as in 2 quarters. But they're special quarters. Let me see here about typing this in. I know. All right, facebook.com/groups/Gayle Vlogs. Yep, 50 cents, 50 cents. Because I have 2 quarters. These are collectible quarters, by the way. These are Sally Ride quarters, the second in the women's series that just came out this year. These are 2, and one is from the Denver Mint and one is from the Philadelphia Mint or Pennsylvania Mint. So that's what you can win. All you have to do is leave a comment over in the Facebook group where I talked about this live stream. Just leave a comment there that's relative. So it's not too hard. These are the second in the series from the U.S. Mint. And I wanted to get the quarters, but the smallest that I could get the quarters in, the smallest grouping or whatever, I couldn't buy just 2 quarters. I had to buy a whole roll of quarters. So you guys get the benefit. So just go over to the Facebook page and just leave a comment just saying that who inspired you to travel or how you were inspired to travel, and you'll be in the drawing. So like I said, 50 cents, but these are special 50 cents. 2 quarters. Second in the women's series from the U.S. Mint, came out this year. The first one was Maya Angelou, and I totally did not get that like I wanted to, because I was waiting for it to open up from the Mint as far as being able to buy it just like 1 or 2 of them. But no, you had to buy the whole roll, and I missed that. So what can I say? And it's a multi-year thing too. So it's kind of neat because it highlights women's achievements, which is, I always find that cool. Always, because we're unsung. All right, now I know for you guys out there, I'm probably boring you to tears. I'm sorry, but they have done programs for men too. So, you know, but this just happens to be girls. But like they do have like baseball. They have like a silver proof and stuff that you can get for baseball, which is men. And they've done some men's things in the past too. So anyhow, and let's not forget the America the Beautiful quarters, which had all the national parks on them and stuff like that. It's just an interesting way to learn. Okay. So, all right. So comment on Facebook. And Fariana, you just came in. So hi, Fariana. How are you? I hope life is better. And let's see, Norfolk and Western Railroad Man is saying Vaughn, Mississippi, Casey Jones was on his way to Memphis, Tennessee on April 30th, 1900 at 3:30 a.m. Casey told Sim Webb to jump off the engine, and he died in the engine of 382, and the passengers were saved. So really cool bit of history there. If you're ever in Memphis, you can stop at the Casey Jones Museum. Hello. Yes, thank you. Thank you again. Sorry, somebody is handing me my trash can. You did that last week. Can we get on to another drip? Okay. And this is my service dog that has just popped in. You may see his tail go flashing through. It is purple. Just something a little different there, y'all. Let's see. Norfolk and Western Railroad Man says, I sent you the info on Casey Jones. Yep. Hope you all saw that. If not, you can look through the chat here. At the moment, not much. Oh, are you sick? Okay. And okay, I guess we went on to a new trick. Thank you. Mariana says she's healing. Good. Hey, Sloan's Wilderness Expeditions is here. So, hey, welcome. Casey Jones Railroad Museum is in Jackson. That's true. And Jackson is right outside of Memphis. So, Jackson it is. Teach him to take out the trash. Yeah, I think if I did, he would probably try to, I don't know, either bury it or taste it. I'm really not sure which. He seems to like landscaping. I know, I keep saying. You guys see his tail over here? All right, you're a mess tonight. I know. Here, you want to come up and show everybody your sweet face? Okay. Lap. Come on. Oh, you hear something, huh? Lap. Come on. Some help you are. No, you're going to bump your head on that? You won't now. Okay. Lap. Come on. Yes, I know. Come on. You're not going to do it? That is so strange. Oh, you hear Dad. Yeah, I know. All right. Last week, he was alerting all over the place because I was having some blood sugar issues and stuff, which is one of the things that he does. He alerts to that. And the rest of the time, he tries to hand me the trash can. So, sorry about that. Okay, let's see. That's a good pupper. He is. He is. You know, he's my new service dog. He's just hiding. He doesn't like coming up in my lap for some reason. I think it's because, like, one time he did it and he came right up and he like knocked me back a lot. So, because I was in my recliner, which rocks. So I think that kind of scared him. But anyway, what can we do? There's a replica of the Cannonball Express in Jackson, Tennessee. So if y'all get the chance, that's a neat place to go. Illinois Central number 382 is the Cannonball Express, and it's a 4-6-0, so 460 10-wheeler. So neat. Very neat. You are in the way. Yes, I know. So sorry about this. Oh, now you're. Oh, he is something else tonight. Let me move so I can see you all. Sorry about that. Okay, and let's see. In the way dog is in the way. Yes, yes it is. No. We're going to put this where your nose can't even get into it. Sorry. All right. In the way dog is in the way. Yep. We used to say that about my Husky mix because my Husky mix service dog, he was like all over the place. Because with him being a big dog, he liked to take up the whole room. He liked to sprawl out. But this was just a little lab. It's amazing how much a smaller dog can still get in the way. What can we say? So, all right. So, about the famous women explorers, I picked a couple that we could talk about today and talk about their impact on travel, because some of the places that they've seen that they went to are still popular tourist destinations today. And it's really interesting the way that different people have impacted and informed history. even now, if you choose to do so, you can follow parts of the Oregon Trail going out west. And when you do that, you can actually stand in and at the wheel ruts that were left by the pioneers as they went out to settle those parts out west, which is really a cool thing. And there are people who like to follow those trails as much as they can. Same thing with the Natchez Trace. There's the Natchez Trace Trail over in the western portion of Tennessee that people like to drive on because it approximates history. None of the trails that exist today are exactly perfect to what the pioneers and the original explorers experienced, because now we have roadways, and those roadways cannot always go on the same routes. Plus, we have private property and rules and so forth. So they come as close as they can. So if you all, for example, are out driving the Trail of Tears, there are places on that trail that are exactly on the Trail of Tears, and there are places that approximate it. And there are places where you can park your car and get out and walk over to the Trail of Tears and actually stand on it. So it's really interesting. And now those places, you know, are drawing visitors. So that's why I chose the people that I'm going to talk about just for a minute tonight. I want you all to chime in, drop your comments over in the live chat about, you know, who has inspired you to travel. Maybe it's one of these ladies, maybe not. 3 of them, I will admit, I included because I was doing some research and I would never heard of them before. And they did some really cool things. The first one being the one that we probably all have heard of, is Sacagawea, or let me try not to butcher it, Sacagawea, I think is how it's being pronounced these days. But it's the woman who was on the Lewis and Clark expedition. And they went out to explore the Louisiana Territory, which was like all of the lands out kind of west, kind of, I think it's west of the Mississippi specifically, but all the lands out west. And she was a Shoshone woman, and she helped them explore the territory from North Dakota to the Pacific Ocean. During that time, she, of course, experienced hunger, freezing temperatures, and the birth of her first child. She actually had 2 children, which I didn't know until looking it up for you all. She had the little boy on the trail, and then later she had a daughter. And most of her daughter is not known because apparently the records dropped off when she was about 3 years old. At one point in time, both of her children actually lived with Clark of the Lewis and Clark expedition. But anyway, that's probably another live stream or some more internet research or something. But today, you can actually travel along the Lewis and Clark National Historic Trail. It goes through 16 states overall. The portion that she was on was, like I said, North Dakota to the Pacific Ocean, but it started much more farther east than that. So it goes through Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Iowa, Missouri, Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, South Dakota. I'm trying to think where all I've seen markers. So South Dakota and North Dakota, Idaho, Montana, you know, all those states, plus some that I forgot. So it goes all the way out there. And so the National Park Service, which I just love, has got like I said, the Lewis and Clark Trail going out west, and they have put together a lot of information on their website about the different states and so forth. One of the neat things to me about it is in South Dakota, on the interstate going through South Dakota, they have got this large statue called Dignity, and I'm posting a photo over on Instagram of this. And it is dedicated to the spirit of the indigenous women who were out having to settle the plains, because a lot of the indigenous were forced to go out west. They left fertile green lands here in the east and were forcibly moved out west. And so this statue is Dignity. It's in honor of all of the indigenous women. So let's see. Let me see here. The oh, okay. Yeah, the Golden Spike historic site is also out there. I believe is it on the trail or is it near it? Hell yeah. Let me see if I can actually pull that up. I can't believe I can't remember this. I've only been out like 3 times. Let's see, I can find it real quick. I don't see it real fast, but I will go ahead and post the link here in the chat though. So if anybody wants to check it out, because it's a really neat place. And it's got, I probably need to do a live stream just on that because it's got such history involved, because that's where we actually united the 2 railroads. And let's see. Okay, please come down to the Jackson, Tennessee, to the Casey Jones Museum, and some of my Illinois Central Railroad stuff will be there. Now, when's it going to be there? And what portion of the museum will it be in? Help me out there. Okay, the tracks where Casey Jones died is still there in Vaughn, Mississippi. Cool. Okay, it's near the, okay. Norfolk and Western is saying it's near the trail. Also, when you go, there's a rocket park like right up the street from it. So you should check that out too while you're at the Golden Spike. And Valerie says, Opa Mae Johnson was the first woman Marine. She joined in 1918. I started wanting to travel when I was in the Marines. Steve and I love traveling and exploring together now. Nice. Nice. And certainly as the first woman Marine, she would have traveled a lot. Because that's part of what you do when you go in the military. You get assigned different places. So that's really neat. I'll have to look her up more. Because I'm ashamed to say that, Valerie, I didn't know anything about her until you just posted it. Norfolk and Western Railroad Man says August 22. They'll have the Illinois Central Railroad stuff in the Casey Jones Museum. Nice. Nice. I don't know if I'm going to be traveling through there on that date. How long will it be there? Because I've got to go back out, going to New Mexico this month, and then either next month or the first week of October, probably October, I'll be going back out. Because this whole thing is shifted like all of my plans. So, but if I can get out there while it's out there, I would love to. It will be there forever. Awesome. Awesome. So it sounds like you're donating it to the museum. That is an awesome thing to do. Cool. Very cool. So I'll have to look for it. What are you doing? Thank you. Anybody need a green ribbon? You're a mess. All right. Yes, he is. See, that's an awesome thing to do, to make sure that people can get history, get exposed to history like forever. So, yay! Good for you. Good for you. Okay, now this other person that I found out is Nellie Bly. Has anybody ever heard of Nellie Bly? You know, leave a comment over there to let me know, because I had not. Actually, the next three people that are on my blog, I have never heard of until researching it. But Nellie Bly was inspired by the book Around the World in 80 Days, and she decided to do it. So she wanted to beat their time. So she, instead of going around the world in 80 days, she went in 72 days and got it done. She was also, let me pull this up actually. She was an explorer, a journalist, and a charity worker. She was also known for an expose that she did on a women's asylum, which is in New York City, which is one of the places that she visited that is still a tourist destination. I don't think the asylum is, but the city is. But she also, some of the places that she went through on her trip include California, San Joaquin Valley, the Mojave Desert, Arizona, New Mexico, Chicago, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and then ended in Jersey City, New Jersey. And of course, that's just the places in the US. She stopped many, many, many more places than that. So I thought it was neat how back in the day, and we're talking about late 1800s, she was born just after the Civil War. So from the late 1800s to, I believe she passed away in 1922, she passed away. She traveled around and got to see the country. Part of it was that they had come out with a book Around the World in 80 Days. And so she had some exposure for some of her writings and so forth, and pitched it to an editor. And lo and behold, 2 days later, she was making plans to hit the ship to go a transatlantic crossing, which is what they had at the time, 1900, to Europe to start the journey. So, okay. Stellar's heard of her. Cool. She said she thinks rejected princesses did a thing on her. Nice. Nice. Well, I am glad, because there are so many people that have contributed. And of course, she broke the record around the world in 72 days. And the interesting thing is, at that same time that she was embarking on the trip, so was somebody else. And they were also trying to beat the record. And they started from about the same place, if I'm remembering correctly, and one went one way, one went the other way. And despite weather delays and so forth, Nellie Bly still won, still beat her. So I can just imagine though, like at that time period, and I think she did ride on some of the trains, but like at that time period, you're traveling around the world in 1900 era. So you're at the time of the Titanic, because the Titanic was what, 1913, I think, and about the time as Casey Jones. And that's the era that you're traveling in. So it can't have been really easy traveling. So that just like amazes me. I'm putting her and Amelia Earhart like up together on my esteemed list. April 1912, the Titanic sank. Okay. I couldn't remember if it was 12 or 13. So cool. Thank you for posting that, Stellar. So we had Nellie Bly, and we had Sacagawea or Sacagawea, who both of these did a trail that people are still, even today, out exploring. So I just thought that was cool. I don't know how much exploring you want to do in the Mojave this time of year, the whole Mojave Desert thing, but the rest of the trail would probably be interesting. Next up are motorcyclists, women motorcyclists. So I thought that was cool. Is anybody familiar with, I think it's Long Way Home, where they took the motorbikes and they went around the world with them? Ewan McGregor was in it. And they did this whole motorcycle journey and they went around the world. This was within the past 10 years, I'd say. And what was cool for me was when I saw that it was a TV series. When I saw that, I actually stayed in one of the same places. Stellar did too. Stayed in one of the same places that they did, and that was up in Alaska. So, yeah. Stellar Piper, do you remember when we stopped at a museum in Alaska and spent the night on the water in the tent at Burwash Landing? That's where those guys did it. But before they did that, there were the Van Buren sisters. Now, I found the Van Buren sisters to be very interesting because part of what they wanted to do was go into the U.S. military. And they had a specific thing they wanted to do in the military. They wanted to be motorcycle dispatch riders in World War I. And they said, look, if we can be motorcycle dispatch riders, then that will free up some of the men who can go fight, because women couldn't fight at the time. So to prove the point that women can do this, they set off on what is called the Lincoln Highway. Now, the Lincoln Highway today is like paved, and it wasn't at that time. It was called a highway, but we're talking about 1916. And I can remember that because it's the year before my grandfather was born. Hey, Hannon Adventures. I'm well. How are you? I hope you're doing well. Okay. So we have the Van Buren sisters, and they want to prove to the U.S. government, U.S. military, that women can take off across the world, across the country in a motorcycle and navigate and take care of themselves and so forth. So they did. But society kind of really wasn't very kind to them about that. And so they didn't get much attention at the time. And some people called it a vacation. Some people called it a last fling before they were getting married. And I guess, kind of get your youth, sowing your seeds of youth or whatever you want to call it, before you settle down as old married women and get married. But they did get married later, but they were not interested in it. They wanted to support and help their country. So they left New York July of 1916, and they arrived in LA in September. And while they were on this thing, it was so cool because they took time off of they deviated from their route because they wanted to try to go up Pikes Peak. And they were the first women in a motorized vehicle to go up and explore Pikes Peak and actually do that. But, the press and whatnot, they didn't care about that either. So it was really interesting because they had unpaved roads for the most part. They were described as backcountry roads, mostly dirt. And, we think of Lincoln Highway today as being this nice paved road that stretches across the country, and it's smooth sailing. But that wasn't what they found, and they said that there were no maps in most of the areas, after they got out of the various main cities. They didn't have a map to go by. So the reports were that they had to stop and seek directions from different farmers and people that they met on the route. So the women were doing that, and then they had all kinds of weather delays and things like that because, you don't always have the best weather. They're on Indian Plus motorcycles, which was like the Cadillac of motorcycles at the time. Okay, I don't know a lot about motorcycles, but I do know a few very basic name recognitions on that. And so they were on the Indian motorcycles with Firestone no skid tires. I'm not going to talk about Firestone tires, but anyhow, that's what they had and that's what they were on. They go on this whole trip, and most places have no speed limits at this time. So guess what they get arrested for? You all are not going to believe what they get arrested for. Let me get back in here into the chat. Stellar says, oh yeah, I remember that. Okay. Hannon Adventures says, hi there, hope you are well. And says, he's great, thank you. So, awesome. And Norfolk and Western Railroad Man says, I'm donating old Illinois Central Railroad spikes from 1900 to 1950, which is a really cool time. Around 1900s was like, around that time period, it was kind of the heyday of the railroad in the United States. Okay, Lori says Lori, which is Women's Station Channel, says she's concerned when she hears brave women have short lifespans. That has been the case a lot of times. But I was shocked out of everything that they did. And they went through like New York City, Pittsburgh, Chicago, Omaha, on over to Sacramento and San Francisco because they went on the whole Lincoln Highway. They wanted to prove that women could do this. So they were largely ignored by the media. And in fact, it wasn't until like 2002 that they were inducted into the American Motorcycle Hall of Fame, which was really pretty cool. And that's a neat website. You don't have to be a motorcycle buff. I'm not a motorcycle buff, but I enjoyed poking around the website and, gleaning lots of information about lots of different things. So what do you all think they got arrested for? This just blew me away. Women's Station Channel read my blog post, so she won't do a spoiler for what the women got arrested for. Yay! Thank you for reading my blog. She says, I know when I was camping for a year, I mentioned how hard the men were on me. Yeah. And I think we broached that subject on the live stream. And I kind of expected some things like that in general when I read about them traveling across the U.S. But what they got arrested for just blew me away. Are you all ready to know, or are some of you hurriedly Googling? And the Van Buren sisters, by the way, were related to Martin Van Buren, who was a previous president in the U.S. So that's kind of neat. All right. Would you believe, you all, that these folks got arrested, these women got arrested apparently more than once for wearing pants? Yep. That heinous crime of wearing pants. Because that was a big scandal, bigger than taking off, and leaving safety and comfort behind, bigger than the news of taking off on their motorbikes in 1900 on dirt roads, bigger than trying to go into the military. It was pants that got them arrested. I'm like, now wait a minute here. So you just never know. There's so many interesting quirks, when we're looking at history. And people are still driving the Lincoln Highway. I've been on it, as I was traveling out west and stuff. Yeah, it was just, and I can tell you that it's asphalt now. You don't have to worry about dirt. Still goes through some farm country, but you don't have to look at dirt all the time. I've just been on little sections. Maybe I should do a YouTube series and drive the whole thing sometime or something. I don't know. What do you all think about that? Would that be boring or interesting? Let me know. Leave your comments over there in the chat. Hannah Adventure says, that's crazy, LOL. Thank you. I agree. Totally agree. Oh, Lori says she hopes the men being harder on us travelers doesn't add to our short lifespans. I don't think so. I don't think it does. Because, I don't think so. Maybe at the time, and well, let me back up. There are women who are traveling in difficult, kind of dangerous areas, and you do have to be aware of that. I think whether you're in your town or another town, but I think in general, it does shorten it. My thoughts. And Lori says, President Van Buren obviously didn't want them out there. Too many times the women were arrested in pants. Yeah. But times have changed too, because have you all ever seen Mrs. Maisel? The show, Mrs. Maisel? Have any of you all ever seen that? Do you even, and if you haven't, do you know what I'm talking about? So just toss that comment over. Because Mrs. Maisel, the marvelous Mrs. Maisel, is based on, some real life things. And so part of her character was inspired by Mae West and some other characters, and there's some historic things. So if you don't know about the historic Mrs. Maisel, she is a stand-up comic that she is trying to become a stand-up comic. She has been married to this man who decides he doesn't want to be married anymore. So here it is, the 1940s, and suddenly she's divorced, and it kind of walks through the whole thing. And then she decides that, after some time of supporting him as a stand-up comic, she decides that really she's much better at it than he is. Mm-hmm. And she goes on to pursue that career. And so it walks her through it. But and thank you, Stellar. It's on Amazon Prime. Valerie says she doesn't know the show. Okay. And let's see. Women's Station channel says, you're tough though, Gayle. The harassment by men making our lives shorter. Oh, I wouldn't say I'm that much tougher than anybody else. A lot of powerful, strong women out there are a lot tougher than me, but thank you. She says, Maisel sounds familiar. Stellar says, if you haven't seen The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, you should. It's on Prime. So yeah, if you have Amazon Prime, go check it out. It's totally funny. But on one of the shows that she's doing, she has kind of a potty mouth that this character does. And so in one of the shows that she's doing, she's actually arrested for overutilizing her potty mouth, shall we say. And so the police comes in. They don't care that she's in a bar. They don't care that she's in a stand-up comic. They don't care that that's her job. That's her gig. That's her livelihood. No. She's arrested because bad words came out of her mouth. Just in the same way that these women, 50 years prior to the setting of the show, were arrested for wearing pants. Just had some weird laws on the books back then. Yeah. So it's just very interesting, I thought. And fun fact about Mrs. Maisel, there is was this wonderful deli in New York City that the whole world knew, Carnegie Deli. Phenomenal food. Just nice deli sandwiches, little Jewish place. Great food. Known the world over, but it closed a few years ago. But somehow or other, for one of the segments of the show, the producers got them to open it back up again for a while just so they could go film the show. I thought that was like the coolest thing ever. But anyway, that's sort of an aside. But the Carnegie Deli used to be a big hotspot for people to visit when they were visiting New York City. Women's Station Channel says, I can see the comparison from yesterday to today on how us women are treated. Yeah, fortunately, it's better. Still have some rough spots, still have some ways to go, but it's getting better. You know, we just got to, keep standing our ground. Also, it was really interesting to me is the women, the Van Buren sisters. Y'all got to look these chicks up. They were so cool. But they went on to have careers. And in 1900, that was not even heard about for women. Even though they were married, they still had careers. So, and they just several years ago did like a coast to coast 90th anniversary ride on that route. So I thought that was really cool. Also, one of the women came up with a quote, and they just got t-shirts and stuff on it. And Augusta Van Buren said, women can if she will. And I just think that's like one of the coolest things because it's true. It is true. We can. And it's like, okay, I got so frustrated. I still get mad when I think about this. But when I was traveling to Alaska, this guy gave me a hard time when I was traveling. And it really ticked me off. But the rest of the time, everybody else was like so nice, so supportive. They were like, that's so cool. And what do you mean you're doing this by yourself with your service dog? And I'm like, well, nobody else can put up with me. What are you going to say? But this one guy was like, he commented on my license plates. And I was like, yes, I've gone from Tennessee. And we were, talked to him about that. And he was really not sure about the whole van thing. So talked to him about that. And then he says, well, I'm going to let you go so you can get back to your husband. I'm like, my husband's not with me. And he just turned around. He's like, what? I'm like, yeah. I said, my husband's not with me. He had to go back. I mean, he didn't have as much time to take off from work. So he's back home at work. And I'm on my way taking this mission trip stuff to Alaska. And he got so mad. And he was like, well, I'd never let my wife go off and do something like that. And I'm like, it's not about letting your wife do something like that. It's about your wife doing what she needs to do. And I have this whole van load and trailer full of mission stuff that I'm taking to Alaska on behalf of men and women and husbands and wives for this mission trip. All he could see was not that, not the purpose of the trip, not envision the lives that were going to be changed because I was taking the stuff up there. All he could see was a woman by herself with her dog going to Alaska, and that is all he wanted to see. And I felt so bad for his wife because she has to live with him having that attitude. And it's like, women can if we will. I just love that saying. But anyway, so anyhow, let me get back to the chat here. Women's Station Channel says, I can still see rough spots in the same areas of our treatment today. There are some rough spots. There are. Women's rights was not a mistake. In fact, one of the sisters here went on to be very active in the women's suffrage movement. But no, it was definitely not a mistake. So we will go there. Valerie says she was changing a tire on my car in a parking lot once, and a guy came over to make fun of me for doing it because I was a woman. Guys can be idiots. Really? Like, could he not have offered to help instead of making fun? There is this thing as courtesy. just being nice to people, just being courteous. You know, if I see somebody that's changing a tire, I'm probably going to help them or offer to. You know, what can we say? Although I'm probably a little less likely to offer now that I can't walk as well, but I can at least offer to call 911 for them or help them call a tow truck or something like that. So, yeah, they can be. But you know, it was really interesting because on the whole trip up there, that however many thousands of miles it is from Virginia to Willow, Alaska, I had many, many, many more people who were supportive. Like I ran into one guy in South Dakota, and he just thought it was the coolest thing ever to go to Alaska by yourself. He didn't care which gender, boy or girl. He just thought it was a really cool thing to do. It's totally supportive. And so, you know, I ran into lots of people who really thought it was cool. Lots of people who weren't too sure. And then when I told them, oh yeah, I'm in the band, it's for a mission trip. And they were like, aren't there planes? You know, you get that. But then when I told them what we were doing and stuff, they just got right on board and they were really supportive. So in all of that, you know, I only ran into that one and then one other guy who was not real supportive. Yes, thank you. Thank you. If you see this thing flying through the air, it goes with the tail. I just did that so they could see you. Okay. There you go. Sorry. Yep. I don't think we have women's. Right. I agree. Thank you, Stellar. And then Women's Nation Channel says we have to travel to some peace poetry building to read what was written for us. It's interesting. Interesting. That would be cool. So yeah. So that's my blog article on the famous women travelers. And there are more, like there are, you know, I didn't talk about Amelia Earhart or even touch on some of the first women pilots or anything like that, because people don't tend to follow those routes. But they did inspire and continue to inspire both men and women to go out and do and achieve. So I just thought that was really cool. But yeah, if y'all want to check out my blog article like Lori did, Women's Station Channel, you can. Feel free. I've got some links from it to like the Motorcycle Museum Hall of Fame, the book that she wrote, Nellie Bly, that I've got linked to from there, some stuff about the Lewis and Clark Trail. So there's some links on there that y'all might find interesting. Actually, Stellar in charge of that too, and I can put you out too. I don't think you're understanding what I'm saying, Stellar. She may not be. Y'all may have to message back and forth on Facebook to fix some. So now, who do you all, who helps? I know we heard from Valerie about who inspires her. And Lori, I think you're an inspiration too from the traveling and that you've done and the camping and all your experiences from being out on the road. And I will admit that I was inspired by like tons of people. Yeah. Because I'm just a cultural junkie like that. Hello. What are you doing? I don't know what he's doing. So if you hear him making weird noises, I don't know what he's doing. Kind of like a snoring kind of sound, but he's not asleep. What can I say? Oh, Stellar honey, my brain injury. Sorry. All good. Women's Station. What did I miss? I was responding to the at women's rights mistake, specifically their repeal to the 19th comment. Okay. there's actually a movement out there that hopefully won't go anywhere. It shouldn't. You know, I really probably should go and do a little video sometime down in Tennessee. Tennessee cast the deciding vote on ratifying the right for women to vote. That came down to Tennessee. Really, really, really super dinky little tiny, not even postage stamp sized town down in McMinn County, Tennessee. A person, he had said he was going to vote against it. He was not going to support it at all. And his mom sent him a note at the courthouse while they were voting saying basically do the right thing. And he changed his vote, and he was the deciding vote that gave women the right to vote, that ratified that amendment and came down to Nashville, Tennessee. Now, some other states said that Tennessee just jumped the gun and that they were going to, if it had gotten them, they were going to have the vote and they were going to vote, but they actually did it. So I could possibly sometime go down and do a video on that. Anyway, that's that. Let's see. I agree. The person is rude. Please forgive me, seller. I thought you were picking. And okay, gotcha. No, I gotcha. I think she does too. I really do. So anyway, you all put your comments in the drawing for 50 cents for 2 quarters, because it's not just 2 quarters. It's Sally Ride. And this lady has also inspired people to travel to space centers to learn more about space and learn more about traveling out of this world. So she kind of fits with the theme. Anything else? We usually keep this to about an hour. Okay, gotcha. Stellar's in. Got it cleared up. All right. So we usually keep this to an hour. I want to be cognizant of your time. Thank you all for hanging out with me tonight. And I want to say this whole channel is about the hashtag be bodacious, which means you're not going to let life, what? You're not going to let life get in the way of living. I'm going to type that in. So go on, take on the world, go have fun, enjoy it, and you all will see you back here Saturday, 7 o'clock Eastern. I don't know where I'll be. I'll be somewhere, but I'll be talking to y'all. So take care. Have a great week. I'll show you. I'll have to be up on a couple of videos this week. I was up on one yesterday. Hope y'all caught it. It's about having the brake controller installed on the van by U-Haul, and I'll tell you about how that went in the video, so go check it out. Y'all have a blessed week and take care, and I will see you all next week. Good night.